So let's talk about virtual servers. Now, our virtual servers are servers that we virtualize that provide us with a full service. So say we may have a virtual server that performs DHCP, or a virtual server that performs Windows deployment, or a virtual server that is a file server, or multiple virtual servers which provide multiple services. So it's essentially like having a physical server except in a virtual environment. Now, these virtual servers can provide us with the extensibility and can provide us with all the functions of an actual physical server without having to have a full physical server dedicated to them. So if we need 3 logical servers, but we only have the funds for one very, very good physical server, we can take those 3 logical servers and put them on that one physical server. Now, with virtual servers, this allows us for logical distribution and scalability of resources. So we can logically assign different functions or different jobs to our different virtual servers, and we can scale how many resources are dedicated to each individual server based on how much they're used. Rather than paying $2,000 for 3 servers, we may pay $5,000 for one really nice server that can give us the functionality that we need for those 3 servers. If we only use those 3 $2,000 servers up to 50% of their capabilities, but we still need 3 separate servers, then instead we just purchase the one $5,000 server and install the 3 virtual servers on it. So it provides us, we can scale those resources if the time comes when we say, okay, this server is being used more and this is being used less. But if we have 3 physical servers, then we can't say, well, we could do this, but we wouldn't want to, especially if they were different physical server types. We wouldn't want to say, oh, I'm going to steal some RAM from this physical server and install it in this other server. Or I'm going to swap their CPUs because this server is being used more and this one's being used less and this one has a stronger CPU. That's not what we want to be doing in our shop. So we can install that one strong, powerful physical server and then the multiple virtual servers on it, and then using our virtualization software, using our hypervisor, we can scale the resources between the 3 very easily. And if one is being used more, we can give it more power, we can dedicate more of our resources, and then if another one's being used less, we just lower the amount of resources that one has. Now, these virtual servers can communicate over our physical network interface cards just as a physical server would. And we can use just one physical network interface card if we want to install a virtual switch, or if we want to allow our hypervisor to run a virtual switch between our servers. But if necessary, we may actually decide to install multiple network interface cards in order to allow us to load balance our network interface cards better and to allow our virtual servers more room to talk on the network interface cards rather than having to share that one cable with everybody else. So that's really up to that's really determined by our situation and determined by how much network connectivity that we need. So let's take a look over here at our diagram, and it illustrates our 2 different points. Now, these are 2 different environments that we have set up. These are 2 different workplaces. One is definitely more of an enterprise type environment, and another one is going to be our small office environment. Now, in our enterprise environment, we have 300 client computers, and all of these 300 client computers are going to be on the same. They're going to be on the same subnet. Now, actually, we will go ahead and change that. And we're going to have 100 client computers on subnet 1, 100 client computers on subnet 2, and 100 client computers on our subnet 3. Now, we have 3 physical servers that are dedicated to these 3 different subnets. They may be doing everything from acting as domain controllers to acting as file servers to performing DHCP or DNS. It really just depends on what we have them set up as. But we're going to say we have 3 physical servers for these subnets. Server 1, or server 3 is going to be for our green VLAN, our green subnet. Server 2 is going to be for our blue subnet. and server 1 is going to be for our red subnet. Now, each of these servers provide functionality, are connected to 100 client computers. Now, in this situation, we really need to have these 3 physical servers, or in our shop, we need to have these 3 physical servers. We could go out and we could get the equipment to start up a very large data center if we needed to, and set up extremely powerful servers which provide us with the extensibility for virtual servers and clustering and failovers. But we don't really have the funds to do that, and we don't really want to sink that much money, or our management doesn't want to sink that much money into this. So really, in our situation, it's more cost effective and it's better for our environment to just have our 3 physical servers. Because we can purchase these servers. Maybe we purchase 3 $2,000 servers or 3 $3,000 servers, and each of these servers are almost always functioning at about 60 to 70% of their max resources. If we were to try to go out and if we were to try to go out and find a device which would allow us to host all 3 of these servers, providing functionality for 300 clients on one single device, we'd be looking at a much higher price tag than what we paid for these 3 physical servers. So we evaluated our network and we said, okay, it's better to have our 3 physical servers for our 300 clients. Now we switch over to our small business where we have 15 clients. And we have these 15 clients, for whatever reason, segmented into 3 different VLANs. Say we have our back office VLAN. Say this is a small environment where we're providing services like it's a small grocery store or a small hardware store. And we have our back office computers. We have our computers that we manage our accounting on and we do our payroll on, and we have 5 of those. And then we have our point of sale computers that we ring up transactions at. And then we have 5 additional computers that do everything from being the computer that we have over in the paint department where customers can go on and they can find different colors, to a computer that we have over in the nuts and bolts department where customers can go on and they can find a different type of bolts that they need depending on which item that they're using. So we really need these 3 distinct VLANs because we don't want the computers our customers are going to be on to be connected to either of these 2 different computer environments. And this subnet in particular, our point of sale subnet, our point of sale VLAN, really has to be on its own VLAN in order to function properly with its point of sale server. So everything needs to be on 3 distinct VLANs, and everything has their own servers that provide them with different functionalities, provide them with different services. But our small shop doesn't want to go out and buy 3 separate servers because we don't have the funds to. If we were to set up these 3 separate servers, they would only be running at our computers in our paint department, and our customer computers fluctuate. They would only be using between 10 and 30% of their max resources at most, even if these were lower end servers. Our point of sale computers are using very little resources. They're not really doing anything at all other than using their own local resources, but they need somewhere to save their data. So we get the idea. We get why we don't need to buy 3 actual physical servers. But we do have this one pretty hardy. We got it on for a good deal. It's a decent server. It's not anything super high end of the line, but we don't need that. We don't need anything to be performing really resource intensive services. We just need something to have data, something that can provide us with DHCP, DNS, things like that. So we set up our one server, and within that one server, we set up our 3 virtual servers. We set up our we just have we don't have any operating system on this single physical server. It just acts as a hypervisor, and that hypervisor hosts 3 virtual servers. Now, in this setup, we have our virtual switch and our single network interface card. Now, our virtual switch is going to have the cable running out of it acting as its trunk port. or its trunk line. And that's going to carry the data from our 3 different servers on our 3 VLANs over to our physical switch, which services our administrative computers, our point of sale computers, and our customer computers, our 15 computers. So now we have our 3 logical servers that are completely logically distinct, that are on 3 separate VLANs, but we didn't have to go out and buy 3 separate physical servers. So this is definitely more cost effective in our 15 computer model than in our 300 computer model. And we see why we would use these different scenarios, we would use these different setups in each of these different models. Now in our virtual model down here, we have a single network interface card working with a virtual switch in order to provide our different lines out. But say we don't have just one switch servicing these different computers. Say this server is back in our administrative offices. So this server is physically located near our red VLAN. And then our point of sale computers are all up at the front of the store, and our green VLAN, our customer computers, are scattered in multiple locations in the store. So when we did all of our network wiring, we actually set up 3 distinct switches. So we set up our 3 distinct switches. We have our red VLAN switch, our blue VLAN switch, and our green VLAN switch, which service our different sets of computers. Now, we could still utilize our single network interface card. We could take our single network interface card, have a trunk line going to our first switch, because both this server and this switch are located near each other, and then set up access, or we could set up additional trunk ports that are going out to or additional access ports rather, that are going out to these different switches, providing the computers with their functionality. But we don't really want to do that. We don't want to have to manage this additional switch and this virtual switch. Or maybe we're setting this up in an environment where the computers may move around a lot. These point of sale computers may need to be switched out. These customer computers may need to move around quite often. And this shop doesn't have a full-time IT person who understands and knows how to manage this virtual switch, or this physical switch, and knows how to manage this virtual switch. So we don't set it up like this. What we can do is install 2 additional network interface cards in our server. No longer use a virtual switch to manage our VLANs. Our hypervisor is still managing our network connections, but we're not going to do so in a virtual switch fashion. Have our 3 separate physical switches. And then logically, we assign our first network interface card to our green VLAN. Our second network interface card we assign to our red VLAN, and our third network interface card we assign to our blue VLAN. Now each of our logical virtual servers each have a physical network interface card assigned to them that they use. And then, oh, that'd be bad. And then we have our VLANs going accordingly. And now we really don't even have them set up so much as VLANs anymore, as we do just a physical network interface card assigned to the correct components. So we can see how our different we can see now how our different networks may be utilizing different types of setups for virtual servers versus physical servers. We can see how virtual servers may be better in certain environments and physical servers may be better in certain environments, and we can utilize our different physical servers and virtual servers for providing us with scalable resources or non-scalable resources, and how our virtual servers can communicate over either one physical network interface card utilizing virtual switch, or we can install multiple network interface cards, so our virtual servers can have more use of the bandwidth, more use of a single network interface card.